Hello, intelligent viewers, and welcome to Cinema Scene. Humanity has long taken pride in its technological advancements, yet it is important that material development goes hand in hand with the cultivation of the inner spirit. On today's program, we explore 3 films in which the characters must draw upon their noblest qualities in the face of technical failures: A Night to Remember, The Towering Inferno, and Apollo 13. Our first feature is the 1958 historical drama A Night to Remember, which chronicles why and how the RMS Titanic sank. Directed by Roy Ward Baker and adapted to screenplay by Eric Ambler from the eponymous book by Walter Lord, it is told in documentary style from the point of view of the ship's passengers and crew, chiefly Second Officer Charles Herbert Lightoller, who was portrayed by BAFTA Award winner Kenneth More. The Titanic was the largest passenger steamship in the world when it set off on its maiden voyage from England to the United States. A small town on the sea, the magnificent vessel was believed to be unsinkable. Aboard the ship were over 2,100 passengers, from the wealthiest of the wealthy in first class to those packed in stowage, hoping to find a better life in America. As the Titanic sails across the open sea, Captain Edward J. Smith, played by Lawrence Naismith, receives numerous ice warnings from nearby steamers. Still, the ship moves onward at high speed. Late on April 14, 1912, a lookout spots an iceberg directly in the Titanic's path. Despite great efforts to steer the ship off course, the Titanic strikes the iceberg on its starboard side. Thomas Andrews, the vessel's designer, played by Michael Goodliffe, inspects the damage and confirms the unthinkable. The Titanic is sinking. A distress call is received by the Carpathia, whose captain, Arthur Rostron, played by Anthony Bushell, immediately orders his ship towards the Titanic. But the Titanic is going down fast. With too much confidence in the Titanic's infallibility, the number of lifeboats brought along is not sufficient to save everyone on board. Meticulously adhering to the facts of the actual event, A Night to Remember is widely heralded as the most accurate of all Titanic films. The movie contains some 200 speaking roles and is a tribute to the passengers and crew members who were on board the ship. Under the brilliant direction of Roy Ward Baker, the black and white film is a fast-paced and unforgettable portrayal of the first and final voyage of the Titanic. A Night to Remember won the 1959 Golden Globe for Best English Language Foreign Film. Let us now take a look at The Towering Inferno, a 1974 film produced by Irwin Allen, who also directed the action sequences. Directed by John Gillerman, it was adapted to the big screen by Sterling Silliphant from the novels The Tower by Richard Martin Stern and The Glass Inferno by Thomas N. Scotia and Frank M. Robinson. The Towering Inferno features an all-star cast led by Steve McQueen and Paul Newman. The film takes place in San Francisco, California, USA, at the fictional Glass Tower, which was designed by architect Doug Roberts, played by Paul Newman, and built by Jim Duncan, played by William Holden. Standing 138 stories high, the newly constructed skyscraper is the world's tallest building. The Glass Tower is the pride of Duncan Enterprises, and a prestigious dedication gala is planned to take place on the building's top floor. But little do they realize that Duncan's son-in-law and the building's electrical engineer, Roger Simmons, played by Richard Chamberlain, has compromised safety for profit. Sure enough, after all the principal individuals arrive for the celebration, a generator shorts out, sparking a small fire in an equipment room on the 81st floor. The San Francisco Fire Department is summoned both via a faulty fire alarm system and telephone. But despite Doug's warnings to evacuate, Jim, convinced of the building's security, continues to entertain the guests. Down on the 81st floor, things go from bad to worse, and soon everyone in the penthouse is trapped by a massive blaze. Among the imperiled characters are Doug's fiancée, Susan, played by Faye Dunaway, Jim's daughter, Patty, played by Susan Blakely, Harley Claiborne, played by Fred Astaire, with Steve McQueen as the collected fire chief, O'Halloran, who is in charge of putting out the flames. With an outstanding all-star cast and a convincing use of modeled designs and special effects, The Towering Inferno has all the right formulas to produce an exciting adventure, and it certainly delivers. Indeed, The Towering Inferno is widely heralded as a genre classic. The production is also a timeless homage to all brave firefighters and selfless heroes. The Towering Inferno was nominated for 8 Oscars in 1975, of which it won for Best Cinematography and Best Film Editing. It also won the Academy Award for Best Original Song for We May Never Love Like This Again by Al Kasha and Joel Hirschhorn. In addition, the film won 2 1975 Golden Globes and 2 1976 BAFTA Awards. Our final feature is Apollo 13, a 1995 film directed by Oscar-winning Ron Howard about the 1970 lunar mission. It was adapted to screenplay by William Broyles Jr. and Al Reinert from the book Lost Moon, written by astronaut Jim Lovell and Jeffrey Kluger. The movie begins on July 20th, 1969, as veteran astronaut Jim Lovell, played by Oscar winner Tom Hanks, hosts a party for fellow astronauts and their families. Together, they watch in awe as Neil Armstrong becomes the first man on the moon during the Apollo 11 mission. Jim had orbited the moon on Apollo 8, and the sight of this latest space accomplishment propels him to tell his beloved wife Marilyn, played by Kathleen Quinlan, of his intentions to make a return visit to the moon. Jim is soon informed that he and his crew, which had originally been slated to fly the Apollo 14 mission, are now going up in the Apollo 13. After informing his family of his trip, Jim, along with crewmates Fred Haise, played by Bill Paxton, and Ken Mattingly, played by Golden Globe-winning Gary Sinise, begin their intensive training. As the launch date nears, illness forces Ken to be replaced by backup command module pilot Jack Swigert, played by Golden Globe-winning Kevin Bacon. Meanwhile, Marilyn's fears for Jim's safety grow, although she still puts on a brave smile to support her enthusiastic husband. On April 11th, 1970, the day comes for Jim, Fred, and Jack to launch off into space. At first, everything is going smoothly, but after 3 days in space, Jim Lovell voices the famous heart-stopping message, "Houston, we've got a problem." One of 2 liquid oxygen tanks has exploded, and the other is soon found to be leaking. The crew is forced to abort the moon landing and reroute the ship back to Earth. Left in outer space without power, guidance systems, and a limited oxygen supply, Jim, Fred, and Jack must acknowledge that they may never return to their homes. Powerful and inspiring, Apollo 13 brilliantly portrays the extraordinarily true saga of the lunar mission in a film that will make audiences hold their breath, cry, and cheer along with the characters. Among its 18 awards, Apollo 13 won 2 Oscars in 1996 for Best Film Editing and Best Sound, and was nominated for 7 others. A Night to Remember, The Towering Inferno, and Apollo 13 are 3 highly entertaining productions which serve as reminders that no matter how advanced technology is, it has its limits, and humans would find greater security in relying on the divine power present within all beings. Thoughtful viewers, thank you for your company for today's Cinema Scene. Now please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television for Vegetarianism, the Noble Way of Living, coming up next after Noteworthy News. May your hearts be blessed with faith and happiness always.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/CS